Right, so today then I'm joined in the studio by Sky Sports F1 pundit and television presenter Ted Kravitz. Good morning, Ted. How are you today?
Hello, well, I certainly hope I'm not in the studio, otherwise I'm in the wrong place. I'm in Belgium.
You are in Belgium. You're quite right. So you're there for the Grand Prix weekend, aren't you?
I am, yes. So, but yeah, nice to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time out to chat to us. Now, I first met you a few weeks back at the F1 show with Sky Sports. You've been working with Sky Sports since around about 2012 when they first launched with the F1 channel. How's that been for you with your role? Obviously, it's increased from just the pit lane work that you used to do previously. How is it? What do you think of your role currently?
Well, I don't know. It's funny. I'm kind of doing the same thing because I started in Formula One in '97, but I started the pit lane job for a few races in 2001, and then full time in 2002. But I've always been there for the live events. I'm reporting from the pit lane live during practice, qualifying, and the race. So I had to make the move to Sky really when the BBC decided that they weren't going to do all the races live, and that for me was. There's not really much point leaving my wife and kids and going fully the whole way around the world to Australia, or halfway at least, not to report on what I'm doing live. So that was the reason that I made the move from the BBC in 2012. But yeah, very happy with what we're doing at Sky. We're building a new team, but I think we're getting there. Before that, I spent 3 very happy years at the BBC from 2009 till 2012. That was a great team to be part of. We won some awards, we had some fun, we made some pretty good programs, and then likewise before that with ITV between 2002, even though I joined them in 1997, till 2008 when they decided they weren't going to do Formula One anymore. That was good fun as well.
It seems like you've always sort of been in the right place at the right time then, on that sort of basis.
Well, I don't know. I suppose so. I think the only place I've been in the right place at the right time was when Murray Walker decided to hang up his headphones and call it a day. And that kind of thing only happens, once in a career of 50 years that Murray Walker's had. And it was Murray retiring that started a sort of chain of events that led to me getting my current job, I suppose. So, I guess you could say there was an element of good fortune there. When Murray decided at the end of 2001 that he wasn't going to commentate on all the races anymore, then James Allen, who had been the pit lane reporter for ITV up until that time, since between 1997 and 2001, stepped up to be the commentator, and that left a gap open for a pit reporter. So I'd been a radio reporter, news and sport reporter before that, so I knew how to broadcast. I'd been a Formula One fan all my life. Excuse me, and so they were looking for a reporter. So happily, I've been a producer on the production before, so I knew how the whole production worked, and got the job from 2002.
Sure, right, okay. And if I want to take you just way back, you started out. You first told me this when I met you, like I say, at the F1 show. You told me that you started out in local radio. How did that all come about? What was the station, and was it while you were at university, or?
No, really, it was when I was at school, very early on. I kind of became slightly obsessed with late-night talk radio, and used to stay up late into the night with the old, radio under the duvet, listening when I should have been asleep. LBC was the thing that got me into it. A great broadcaster called Clive Bull, who's still on LBC, used to have a sort of community of listeners between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. and listening to it, you felt part of a club. And that really sort of convinced me early on that I wanted to get into radio. It was the intimacy of the medium that really appealed to me. You could make connections with people just listening. You never knew who was listening, but you knew that people were. And there aren't any images to get, any pictures to get bothered about. It's all just speech and communication. That was what convinced me early on. So even at school, I knew that I wanted to do that, and then managed to get some work experience with local radio stations, as you say, and with CBS News in the radio department of the American network CBS News in London. I had a friend of a friend who worked there, and so sort of learnt my trade, editing tape as it was back then. And then when I went to university in Exeter, worked on the university radio station pretty much the first thing I did after I dumped my bags in the halls of residence was to go to the University Radio Exeter station and sign up, and that was where I learned to edit, how to report, how to do interviews, how to cold call people on the phone, the basics of being a journalist. And then I went to Gemini FM, did some work for Gemini FM, which was the independent local radio station down in the southwest, and BBC Radio Devon as well. But 3 very happy years learning my trade.
Brilliant. Okay, and I've been in radio since I was 13, so knocking on for about 4 years now, almost indeed. So you know, it's nice to see someone who's worked their way from radio up into doing something of your calibre. How did you come about going from radio to doing work in the Formula One industry, or the motorsport industry, should I say?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much calibre to what I do. It's just an idiot in shorts walking around telling people what I see. But that's the element of it, isn't it? That's the essence of reporting. It's putting people in the moment. And I guess I never expected to get a job in Formula One, which was my passion. When I wake up in the morning, I'd always be scouring the newspapers for any snippet of Formula One news or information that was around. Of course, this was before the internet in the late 80s and early 90s. It was only when I got to university in 1992, 93 that I'd seen a computer where you can download a picture from the internet. People didn't have email before that. I know it seems a ridiculous thing to say now, but I never thought I'd get an opportunity to work in Formula One, which was always my passion. But then when I left university and I'd done some more work for other radio stations, something else that doesn't happen very often actually took place, and that was the TV rights in the UK changed from the BBC, who'd had them seemingly from the beginning of Formula One. They decided, or they weren't going to do it anymore, and ITV were offered the rights. And ITV were putting together a production team, and I was actually, as a radio journalist, I was at the launch of the Arrows team in 1997 that had just acquired the services of Damon Hill, who was world champion then, of course, from 1996, reigning world champion, came to the Arrows team. And it was at that launch, I was covering it for a radio station, and I met James Allen, who was doing the same for ITV.
Oh, wow.
And we got talking. I knew who he was. He didn't know who I was. I was nobody. But he gave me the name of one of the producers at Chrysalis Sport, Chrysalis Television, who were doing the production for ITV. And I got in touch with those producers. I was tenacious. I didn't let go. I kept asking if I could come in for a chat. And eventually I went in for a chat. They needed a runner, a researcher. And I got the job. And I started with them in the winter of 1996, planning all our programs. And then we kicked off in 1997 with the coverage of Formula One. And then I've been here ever since.
Right, okay, fantastic. It's lovely to hear someone who's, just won't let go and is so determined to, or was so determined to, reach their goal. It's fantastic to hear. So, you're, like you say, you're at Spa this weekend in Belgium, and so, obviously there's been a lot of development going on throughout the week, of course, with especially with Max Verstappen being announced as a Toro Rosso driver next season, replacing Jean-Eric Vergne. So what are your thoughts on that? What do you think of Verstappen? Obviously, he's only in his first season of single-seaters, in fact. He was only racing karts this time last year.
It's an amazing ascent to fame, isn't it? And I don't know, I'm in two minds. I think it is a little bit too early. Not because he doesn't have the ability to drive. I think he's a future world champion on the basis of what we've seen in the junior formula. So he's clearly got talent. But is it the right thing for him mentally? You're still maturing when you're 16, 17, 18 years old. You're not the sort of fully rounded person that you are maybe when you're 20 or 21, and well, actually, I say that you're still learning throughout your 20s, aren't you? So, but he is quite mature for his age. Physically, you're still maturing as well. You're building up your muscles, and I just wonder whether mentally it's a bit too much too soon for him. Whether he might be a better driver long term if he just had a bit of experience from some other race series, and when he gets into Formula One, and there'll be tricky moments ahead because there always are, and he's not going straight into a race-winning Mercedes or or a Red Bull, so success is instantly going to come to him. He's going into a Toro Rosso, so he's going to be fighting at best in the midfield and at worst towards the back. So he's got to learn mentally how to deal with that. So that's going to be the difficult thing for Max Verstappen, I think, is to figure out, whether he's going to have the maturity to deal with a situation when something doesn't go right, because things aren't going to go right inevitably. But listen, he's got the ability, and you know what? If I was in his position and I'd been offered a drive and I was 17, I don't think I'd say no, because you never know when those offers are going to come along again.
Quite right.
Done the right thing for him.
No, definitely. I think you're quite right there. It's nice to hear someone else's insight on this. I've been discussing it all morning on the breakfast show I've just been presenting, and everyone seems to be of the same opinion. They think it's a bit soon, but only time will tell us. I should imagine. But obviously, André Lotterer has been announced as Kobayashi's replacement this week at Caterham as well. So obviously, it's been coming on for a couple of races now, really, with the financial situation at Caterham. Wise move by them, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I'm actually outside the Caterham garage at the moment, and they've just pulled down the banner above the garage which said Kamui Kobayashi, and presumably there's a sign writer somewhere near Spa-Francorchamps who's very hurriedly making one up saying André Lotterer and the German flag, even though he's a local lad. His mother's Belgian. He lived around here for quite a while. So, they haven't actually made the sign yet that says André Lotterer. They're quickly changing the stickers. But, yeah, I mean, we don't know. We haven't spoken to him yet or to the team management. We don't know if there's some money involved. I would imagine there is, because Caterham are in dire straits financially. They need as much money as they can get as quickly as they can get it. So I'd imagine there's a sponsor who said, if you put my boy André in, I'll give you a few €100,000 or something. But they're saying that we wanted an experienced driver in there to see what the car's like. Well, that's fine, and he is experienced. He's not experienced in Formula One. He's never driven a race. In fact, the last Formula One car he drove was some 10 years ago.
Yeah, the Jaguar.
10 years in the Jaguar in 2002, I think it was. So it doesn't really wash when they say we want an experienced driver in the car. If you want an experienced driver in the car, call up Paul di Resta, or someone who's been driven some other cars in Formula One and plenty of races and knows the tyres, etc. So you ask him what you think of your car.
Indeed.
But yeah, so it seems to be about money. But listen. If Lotterer, who would have thought that his time had passed, wants to get in and do that, then good luck to him as well. And in fact, as I speak, he's just come out of the garage and is posing for a photo with some photographers just by the pit wall. One thing I will say about André Lotterer, he's started to go a bit grey. I think he's only 32. Just looking at the side of his hair, as head as I am now. He started to get a bit grey on the old temples.
Let's get some just for men on that then.
He's still wearing his Audi boots, I can tell you.
Oh, really?
He's got his race boots, yeah. He's still got his red Audi boots on it. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Sorry, that's an engine in the background. You're getting all the sound effects.
That's all right. It's quite nice, actually, to be honest. It's good. Brilliant. Well, it's, again, lovely to hear your insight on that. So, who's your tip for a win this weekend? Obviously, over the summer break, we've had a 4-week, or a 2-week shutdown of the factories at least, and development is sort of frozen for a bit. But obviously, teams will be frantically, trying to redevelop new parts. We've heard that Caterham are going to have a new nose in apparently, as well. So, who are you tipping for a good result then over this weekend?
Yeah, I think Lewis Hamilton will, has a great chance to reassert itself here, really, and I think it's going to be between the Mercedes cars. I think Nico Rosberg will run him very close, but I think Hamilton's speed around this circuit will ultimately show. So yeah, I think it's Hamilton's race to lose this weekend. But we've seen things go wrong for him in previous races recently, haven't we? So we'll see how that works for him. But I think Lewis Hamilton's looking pretty good at the moment.
Fantastic. All right, Ted. Well, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you ever so much for taking the time out. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, no worries.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Bye now.